After a night of hot and sexy fun, Amy woke with a smile. Wearing only Shane's oversized Vulture's t-shirt, which draped to her knees, she rubbed sleep from her eyes. Cane fishing pole in her hand, Amy padded barefoot across the lawn. Through the woods, along the well-cut path leading to Walker's Creek. The creek ran steady with mostly clear water. Perfect day to catch some bluegills. Amy grabbed the carton of worms from the ground. She dug her fingers into the moist black soil until she found a squirming nightcrawler. She sat with legs crossed on the bank of the creek and began threading the worm onto her hook. Shane gave her a smile and cast his line into the water. She pictured them 40 years from now, doing this same exact thing. The years would take its toll on their bodies, making their bones brittle, their skin wrinkled and their hair silver. But time would only grow their love, not hinder it. He was the man she promised to spend the rest of her life with. The man she could tell anything to. The man who would support her in the most trying of times. A beast wanted her soul. Pretty gosh darn trying, she thought. Shane would want to know if something or someone was trying to hurt her. He would want to protect her. If the situation was reversed, she'd want to know if he was in danger. She'd want to help him.
Reveal to Shane about my existence and the warning I bring.
Startled at Tobias's unexpected presence, she grimaced. Her mind was no longer her own. Embarrassed he heard her thoughts, she felt her face flush.
You want me to tell Shane about you? Why?
I wish for my father to know of me.
Amy's heart raced and felt as if it might jump out of her throat.
Shane's your father?
Tobias remained predictably quiet. Who the hell was Tobias's mother? Somebody he's cheating on her with? And to think that she'd thought about them growing old and loving each other forever. Now she wanted to rip Shane's face off and stomp all over his balls. Amy jumped to her feet and began muttering aloud, not giving a pig's twisted tail if Shane heard her.
You ask me to trust everything you say, yet you obviously don't trust me with the whole truth. I want to know everything. Who you are, who I am, where you're from, and what Shane has to do with all this. Start talking, or I swear I'll ring the dinner bell and let this beast have his way with me. Tell me who your mother is, or I swear I'll do it. I'll give myself to the beast. Screw saving the world and all that bull crap. The game's over, Tobias. Or whoever you are.
You are my mother.
That's impossible. I'd think I'd remember if I gave birth. Stop lying to me.
I am inside of you.
You're in my head. I got that already.
I am inside your womb.
My womb?
Her palm slipped over her stomach.
You can't mean what I think you mean.
The one called Shane is my true father, and you are my true mother.
Moisture filled her eyes.
How is this possible? My period isn't due for almost a week.
I am 11 days into conception, and I have only learned the truth of my origins in recent weeks.
You're quite intelligent for a fetus.
My fetus serves as the conduit, allowing me to speak to you from the future, 19 years from your present date.
Shane watched Amy pace. It was bad enough that she spouted nonsense about giving herself to a beast, but to make matters worse, she spouted this nonsense to herself, or nobody, or somebody? Who the fuck is she talking to? She looked pale and nervous. He set his rod against a tree and went to her. Babe, you feeling okay? Amy gave him a wide, shit-eating grin, which only escalated his concern. It was the same expression she had when she told him about the mind-blowing orgasms her aunt swore to, just from placing her shoes toe-to-toe under the bed right before she got laid. Talk to me. She shook her head and raised her hands as if surrendering to an unseen army. Okay, here goes. I met a boy, or man, depending on how you look at it. A flash of heat blazed throughout Shane's body. Queasy knots rolled inside him, twisting his nerves. A man? Not a real man. I mean, he is real, but he's only in my head. I know it sounds crazy, really crazy, but he's real, and he wants me to tell you. I've heard enough. Please, I have to tell you more. He's from the future. Cupping her chin, he peered down at her. God help him, she was beautiful. So sweet and loving and passionate. But she might just be batshit fucking crazy. Should he get her therapy? Would they lock her up like her aunt? What about medication? How would that change her? He didn't want her changed. He loved her just as she was. Amy may be a loon, but she was his loon, and he'd be damned if he was going to let anyone drug her up or lock her away where he couldn't see her or touch her without someone in a white coat observing their every movement. So, she hears voices. Big fucking deal. She's not a threat to anyone or herself. Maybe Amy and he could keep this man boy from the future their little secret. As long as this mysterious voice in her head wasn't telling her to burn down Roxy's or shoot Sheriff Bowden in the back, there was nothing to worry about. Nobody would have to know she was loco. Amy wouldn't hurt anybody. Hell, she had to give every rodent a proper burial just to appease its spirit. You've known she was a kooky broad since you first met her, Baker, he thought. Don't go acting all shocked now. Get your shit together. Better or worse, you love her. This man that talks to you, does he have a name? Her eyes lit with excitement, and he couldn't help smiling. Tobias. Her voice shook, either from pride or from fear of his reaction. Let's keep Tobias our secret. She took a step back. I'm not crazy. Tobias is our... He pressed a finger to her lips, shushing her. Tobias. Shane's voice shook as he grumbled the name of the man talking to his woman. Tobias the bitch ass, he thought. Tobias is our secret, so if you love me, you'll drop this now. I really don't want to hear any more. What he wanted more than anything was to drop-kick Tobias like he'd done Private Sanders at the rec hall. Her fists balled by her side. You don't understand. I understand if you go around telling everybody that you hear voices. One voice. Okay, if you go around telling people you hear a voice, not people, she made air quotes, just you. With his head cocked, he smirked. And Carmen? She's my best friend. Holy fuck. Who was next? Roxy? Birch? Scooter? Her mother? Shane ran a hand over his head. If you go on like this, you'll earn yourself a room at the asylum, right next door to your aunt. Tears of frustration welled in his eyes. You belong here with me and Scooter and Alamo, not in a padded cell. Amy glanced at the sky. What do I do now? Shane took her face in his hands and forced her to look at him. Do nothing. I'm begging you. Amy narrowed her eyes. I wasn't talking to you. She turned on her heel and strode toward the trailer. The tears he'd struggled to keep at bay poured down his face. His fingers clenched into a tight fist. He eyed the trunk of a thick tree. Maybe if he broke every bone in his hand, it would dull the pain of watching Amy walk away. Fuck you, Tobias. He turned and ran after her. As he reached the trailer, he gripped her by the arm and swung her to face him. Don't ever turn your back on me. On us. She shrugged out of his hold. You think I'm crazy? Just like most people in this podunk town. Tobias is the only one I can count on. You say you love me, but when I confide in you, you turn on me. You don't know how to love, not even yourself. Crushing his lips against hers, he pulled her against his body. His tongue invaded her mouth and she moaned, the sweetest, hottest sound he'd ever heard. Tears circled their joined lips. With his hands gripped on her ass, he lifted her off the ground and scooted her into the house. Shane lifted her shirt above her breasts. He pushed her against the living room wall and slid her up until her groin was level with his hard cock. He drove inside her. I'm not crazy. I know. With his hands gripped on her narrow hips, he gazed at her face, smudged with teardrops and dirt. Do you? Shane nodded and nibbled on her shoulder blade, inhaling her natural perfume combined with her oatmeal and honey soap. Her hands tangled in his hair. I'm really, really not crazy. Just shut up and fuck me.